What's going on, golf addicts? It's DB. It's my boy Blake Kuzava. You know him, progress over perfection. He's the coach. He's the PGA pro of the Nut Hut, of the Discord. And it's another episode of One Groove Low. Welcome to the show, Blake. Tell the people what we're getting into today.
Yeah, so David, I'm pretty excited with this one. Today we're going to be describing the five top reasons for me on why people suck at golf. Let's kick it off, eh? Numero uno. You aren't as smart as you think you are. Okay, that's number one. When I think of good players, David, what I think of is players who can adapt quickly. Okay. Like PGA Tour players, right? They can adapt quickly. Okay. And to be able to adapt quickly, you have to be able to diagnose a problem. And for a lot of players out there, they're not smart enough to be able to diagnose a problem within their golf game. So all of a sudden, their adaptation rate, it's slow. Maybe a good golfer, it takes them 3 swings to adapt. A bad golfer who isn't as smart as they think they are, it takes them 9 holes to adapt because they don't know how to diagnose. Maybe they try to diagnose something and it's incorrect. Just because one of you out there goes home after a round of golf and watches a 5-minute YouTube video on how to hit irons pure does not mean that you're a teaching pro. It doesn't mean you're a philosophy major in the game of golf. You don't probably know as much as you know. So let's make sure, too, when I say this, I deal with so many people who think they know more than they know. So then they go tell their buddy. They start to go, maybe they go play on Sunday and they're like with a buddy on the first tee and they're like, man, you're getting quick. You're doing this, you're doing that.
Yeah. Oh, Rodney, I know exactly what you're doing, Rodney. You're not really transferring your weight to your left big toe, Rodney. That's what's going on.
God. So nothing grinds my gears quite like that, David. When I work with somebody on the lesson tee and they come back to me the next week and they're like, my buddy, has been telling me to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, the first question I ask is what did your buddy shoot that day?
Yeah.
And if it is above around 72, 73, I let it brush right over. I say, okay, you and I.
Do you make them punch themselves in the dick before you start the lesson? I would say, listen, I'm going to charge you for the hour. The hour is going on your account, on your member account, Mr. Flanagan or whatever. But I'm not giving you any advice in the next hour until you punch yourself in the dick hard.
There you go. Maybe I should. I haven't brought that into the lesson tee yet. But maybe I will. So again, number one, you aren't as smart as you think you are. Take that to heart. Number two, you care too much. Okay.
That one got me. This one gets me. I care.
Yeah, it's hard not to care, but at the end of the day, we have to understand that golf is just a game. Okay. Yeah. After you play on Saturday and you go home to your family and you're eating dinner, you got to understand that is not your career. That is not putting dinner on the plate for your family. You are not a golfer. Okay. So don't care as much. There's an interesting study done, David, where, it's talking about really effective golfers, really high class golfers, and how when they go play golf, they diminish the idea of caring so much. So that frees them up, whether it's a situation or a shot. And they don't have this necessity of care. It frees them up. But then there's your worst player. And they take so much into the result and how much they care about a shot. They paralyze themselves. And it's interesting to see when you care less, how much better at golf you can get. It's one that really hits a lot of people. And you'll oftentimes see your worst golfer be an angrier golfer out on the golf course. When they hit a bad shot, they're fucking yucking a club 30 yards. It's like, dude, you're not that guy. You're just not him. You're not good enough. Like, don't worry about it. It's just a game at the end of the day.
I think for me, I want to push on that one a little bit because like I think for me, sometimes it's the expectation gap, which I talk about a lot, like in relationships, right? With my wife, with my kids, I'm talking to my son about basketball, right? I'm like, dude, you got to have proper expectation of yourself. It's same thing on the golf course. Like I'd say it to my 13-year-old all the time. I'm like, you get so mad on the course. How many how many hours have you spent in the last month putting? And you're mad at yourself for 4 putting from 30 feet.
No doubt.
And he's like, none. Okay. Or he's like, oh, I putt before every round. Okay, well, putting 10 minutes before every round is not practicing putting. So you have an expectation gap. If you bring the reality closer to your own expectation, then you will not have an expectation of playing good golf or being a good putter in that example. So for me, like, I know for me personally, I used to care. Actually, I think I care the same, but my expectation gap is narrow.
Yeah.
So I care because, freaking 15 years ago, I decided to make golf my only hobby, right? I used to have like a bunch of them. You'll get this when you're a young man, you do a bunch of stuff. You're like, oh yeah, sorry, babe, I got poker night and I got I'm going skiing with the boys and I'm playing golf and I'm hunting and I'm doing all this stuff. When you get married, you can't, and you have kids, you got to get down to one, brother. So, I eliminated it all down to one. I went all in. All the chips go in to golf, right? And I devote all my time, all my money, extra time, extra money into this game, and I because I care. And and then when you start thinking about all the money you spend in it, and the money you spend on your club, and the time it takes, and all this stuff you pay for, you're like, damn it! Like I need to be better at this, right?
Totally.
And I think
I love that.
You don't have to be better. Like, one of my buddies is better at this than I am. He's like, dude, you don't have to be better at golf just because you spend a bunch of money and time. You have to have more. You have to have fun. Like, it's about, you're paying to have fun. You're paying to, for the competition of it. Somewhat, handicap or whatever. But I think it's kind of like a expectation gap thing for me personally. If I can realize what I should actually be doing based on what I think I should be doing, and marry those two up, then I'm less pissed when it doesn't go my way.
I love that. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Just right along with caring is exactly expectation. Yeah. And that's maybe a topic we hit even harder another day, because that is a big psychological factor in the game of golf and in life, right? You talk about, relationships, all that kind of stuff, getting to draw parallels between the game of golf and life itself. So really, really beautiful there. You ready for number 3?
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk any more about that.
Nah, let's hit it.
You consume too much. Okay. So I made a little post on my social media about this, and I got a lot of feedback from a lot of different individuals, people that I know, people that I don't know. And I love this, right? At the end of the day, a person gets to decide, are you more of a social golfer, or are you more of a player looking to shoot low numbers? I'm not going to sit here today and like dad somebody around and tell them, man, you can't be drinking. But you get to decide. If you're a social golfer and you want to go out on the course with the boys and get drunk and have a great time, fantastic. Well, that's a part of golf. That's growing the game of golf. Great. But if you come to me after a round that you play like shit, and I can smell the alcohol radiating out of your breath, and you're like, Blake, why do I suck so much? It's like maybe it was the fact that you took 10 tequila shots out on the golf course today and you can't feel your body. And no wonder you can't play the last 3 holes and better than 6 over par. It's because you're drunk. You're drunk. Okay. So maybe I'm not here to tell you not to drink or consume on the golf course, but maybe there's a bit of limitation or limiting the amount. I like to call it, I like to forecast and budget the amount of consumption that I'm going to do on the golf course. There's no reason for me when I'm trying to play good. I have this competitive urge inside me that I can't drink too much on the golf course, because then I know I'm just going to play like shit.
Same.
But if you can budget, maybe like a couple beers here and there, get feeling some kind of way, you're loose, you're free, and you're having a good time, great. Okay, you might be able to shoot a good number, but man, if you consume too much, you are probably not going to shoot a good number, and if you do, you probably got pretty lucky, in my opinion.
I thought you were going to say consume too much like instructional content.
Oh,
that's where I thought you were going.
Oh, whole nother topic.
I mean, so you have the guys who say, like Pat would probably say this. Pat would probably say, "Well, Blake, I play better when I'm drunk."
I think every individual has a ratio, or it's all relative to an individual, right? Mm-hmm. If you give me the same whatnot. As Pat's drinking, I'll probably be off another level of drunk. So, it's relative to a ratio that can kind of put you in peak performance. Once somebody gets over that ratio by just a little bit, there it goes. So Pat's probably kind of mastered this spot in which he feels really comfortable with his consumption levels on the course. And I can't lie, I see a lot of players who need some kind of consumption to ease the nerves, to ease the anxiety. It's kind of scary in a way, but there's a level that's just too much, right? And you get past that ratio and you're screwed. I see it. I see that more than I see anything around here at Bear Creek. It's unbelievable. People love.
I think it goes back to like you're drinking because you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And so you're trying to calm down. You're trying to ease the nerves. You're trying to ease the anxiety. You're trying to calm down because you've got too much pressure on yourself. Why do you have too much pressure on yourself? Probably because you have an expectation gap, or you care too much, or you think you're better than you are. That's why. So it's usually the root problem is not, oh, I get nervous, I'm anxious. It's why are you nervous? If you're playing in your Saturday game with your boys, why should we be that nervous or anxious that we have to have 4 Bloody Marys before we tee off at 9 a.m.?
Totally. And I think that's awesome too. You're going to start to see how certain ones correlate and link together. Exactly right. The root cause is you possibly care too much. You have too high of expectations. You put too much on you. You get anxious. The only way to kind of negate that anxiety is get a couple drinks in you. All of a sudden, a couple drinks lend itself to one or two too many. You start to tumble, you fall, literally and I guess not literally in the game of golf. But number 4, you are impatient and too quick result driven. I talk about being quick result driven a lot within my teaching. I'm very much a motion believer. So I always talk about, motion lends itself to a ball flight lends itself to a result. A lot of people chase results too quickly. And where they start to get hurt is you have to understand that the game of golf, we need patience, whether it's in a golf swing, in a circumstance, in a round. Without patience, you are nothing in this game. Okay. It takes time, just like your son going out there and just hitting putts before a round. If he wanted to really acquire a better, putting game, he would need a ton of patience, need to go practice on his time off away, understanding that we can't get to the quick result without the needed patience to practice and understand that we're perfecting a motion meant for the future. Okay. I see it all the time is people are always about what they shoot on what they put on the card at the end of the day. Not about, let's talk about swing work really quick. I don't mean to bounce around too much, but like when I'm working on somebody with their swing, right? Swing change takes time. Okay. And it's so interesting. The people that progress at the fastest rate, David, tend to be the most patient individuals, the ones who aren't seeking the result in the immediate future. And it's such an interesting one because they're allowed to kind of, dive into the motion, take their time, progress the motion correctly. Your impatient one, when I give them a lesson and they go work on it, and the next day they go out and play and it's not there yet, they go back immediately to what feels comfortable. They don't progress. They're not patient enough. They're not willing to not be quick result driven. Big deal in the game of golf, and especially in my realm of instruction. It is an absolute colossal mistake that I see.
So I was just in Sea Island for the RSM, and as you know, Sea Island, the mayor of Sea Island is Davis Love III.
Yeah,
and we have a listener, a friend of ours, who's related to the Love family, and he's a great guy. Shout out William. And he told me this about Davis. So Davis is a huge skier, which you being in Colorado, big ski guy, golf guy, you can relate. And we were talking about in his heyday when he was playing on tour, he would take months off at a time and skip tour events to be in Colorado and just ski. He just loves skiing. Yeah. And I was talking about how did he stay sharp? How did he do that? Like how do you go from a tour player of his level, take that much time off, virtually not play any golf, and come back and you're still dialed. And obviously this takes a lot of discipline, but I think it's also patience. It's kind of the same thing. He just said, dude, Davis would literally bring like a club with him. And when he was in the house watching TV or relaxing or whatever, he would just in front of a mirror, just slow-mo positions. That's it.
Cool. That's
Just
pretty cool.
just slow-mo in positions all winter long, like not hitting a ball, not necessarily playing a lot, not grinding in a range session. He would just in slow motion get to where he needed to be and check his positions and check his angles and all that stuff, and just dry swing in the house. And like to me, you know, I've taken a lesson before where my instructor's been like, all right, now you need to go home and like watch yourself get in that position and make yourself get there and like do these slow, you know, I mean, most people listening to us right now, if you try to make a swing change and it was one thing and you were like, okay, go home and do that, do 100 slow-mo swings of that in a mirror 5 days this week, 0% of people would do it.
Totally.
Me included.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going to bitch about why it's not changing.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, if you've been playing this game long enough and you've tried to change things, you've tried to change swing mechanics, boy, like
It's hard.
it just takes so long. Yeah, it's so hard. So again, expectation gap. You can't have this expectation that just because you take one lesson and you feel it during the lesson, you think you got it, that then all of a sudden you're gonna have it. It doesn't work like that.
Totally right. Totally right. So that was number 4.
Okay.
Lending ourselves to our last one. This one I expect to get some hate coming my way, but it's just the truth, and I'm not going to run away from the truth sometimes. And number 5 is that you have a loft issue. And when I say you have a loft issue, you have a lack of fucking talent. It happens.
So
okay?
wrong.
It either happens mentally, emotionally, or physically. And sometimes you have all three of a loft issue. But, you know, it's all relative in the basis of let's say we work with somebody with zero hand-eye coordination. Okay, I can teach him mechanically all the things that are necessary to hit the golf ball, but that factor physically, their ceiling it just stays lower. Okay, so it's relative in the sense of because they have that inability, that physical limitation, a loft issue, as I would call. They don't have the chance to most likely have their ceiling, you know, elevate a whole ton.
Yeah.
Have I seen it done before? Have I projected somebody with a loft issue and then all of a sudden they shock me, surprise me with a little hard work, dedication, all this stuff, you know, exceed my wildest expectations? Certainly.
Yeah.
But as a general basis, man, if you got a loft issue, you're screwed. Okay. It's just like, you know, I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not the tallest guy. Like you put me on an NBA court, I have a loft issue in comparison to these other individuals. Like I just don't have it. Right. I just don't. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that golf is a game that you shouldn't be enthralled with and love and play all the time because you're addicted to it. It's not necessarily the case. You just have to understand that sometimes you're going to fall into a spot where you just can't do it because you just kind of suck, and that's okay. It's okay sometimes to just understand that you suck. But that number 5, David, unless you have something you want to add on to that, kind of lends itself into the swing analysis video, an absolute, in my mind, probably a loft issue at some point in this guy's past. But I can't wait to kind of showcase this swing of this individual. Again, this came from my father, who was playing a local round at a public course here in Denver. And let's just take a look. Let's just take a look at it here.
Let's see if there we go. Oh God. Is this Mr. Miyagi? Is that Albert Einstein? Oh, God.
He's got the Albert Einstein with the Hunter orange cap on. This beginning part of the golf swing, his beginning and his end part of the
look at that width. Look at that width.
It's there is none of that. There is none of that. The beginning and end of his golf swing, David, are my favorite parts of this motion. Okay. He finishes his golf swing underneath his belt. If I were to try to do that, I would rupture everything in my lower back. Like, I do not have the resistance ability, like
Stop
right
it.
here to stop. Dude, if I told this guy, if this guy came to me for a lesson and was like, Blake, I'm dealing with all this lower back pain, I'd be like, dude, let's just finish your golf swing and you'll be all right. Let's not hold it off at the belt line and you'll be just fine. The beginning part of his golf swing, I showed this to a buddy of mine, and he's a big believer that I should set like some kind of musical beat to how he kind of taps the club on the back of the ground, and then kind of have the bass drop and the beat drop right at impact. But what a beautiful motion. My dad was so enthralled with his golf swing that he decided to take another video a little later into the round. So let's pull that one up.
Oh, down the line?
A little down the line perspective from your guy.
Oh my. Oh, you know what though? I mean, it exits left. It exits left.
It exits left. So here in a second, I've kind of labeled out some of the positions in the golf swing. David, you and I talked about this. This is P2. I know it's a little off the screen. I don't really care. I can't label P1 because the guy doesn't have an address position. Okay, the guy's bouncing the club off the back of the ground, he doesn't address the ball. Bottom line, P2, what we're going to see in his golf swing positionally, mechanically, is the guy doesn't turn. Okay, if I were to help him with one thing, still at P3, you can see his lower body. It's turned maybe about 5 degrees open. So he is going to be fully arm-centric in his golf swing.
All arms, yeah.
All arms.
Is that P4? Okay.
This is P4, little top position. What I will say this guy has an innate ability at is his transition move. Okay, if I taught this guy how to turn a little bit better, and he got this weight distribution thing going on at P4 where he kind of falls into his lead side, this is a professional move. Okay, a lot of amateurs don't know how to fall into their lead side, kind of bump into their lead side. Mr. Miyagi here, Albert, okay, he's fallen into his lead side right here at P4. He is locked and loaded to absolutely take a rip coming down into this golf swing. We're going to see from P4 to P5, the guy shallows the club better than David. You should take a look at that. Albert's got the shallowing effect. P6, club face is open. P7 kind of humps it, kind of throws, kind of jerky at it.
He also looks like he's falling over. Yeah, he is.
Look at that. Look, he's getting there. He certainly is falling over, kind of crowding. You know what I call that? So in the golf swing, when somebody's falling into it, I consider the space in between myself and the golf ball when I set up to the golf ball, that's sacred space. And we've talked about sacred space. We do not touch sacred space in the downswing, much like something you might want to work on in the future. Yeah. But that guy's kind of falling into it. But man, if I were to say one thing on that down the line, he hits the damn center of the club face. Unbelievable. I mean,
I can't believe that. I can't believe you and your dad have sat on that video, because like that video going out to one of these, big golf accounts, it's going to do well. It's going to do well. You need to make sure it's littered with the progress over perfection watermark all over it.
Totally. And I would not be surprised. I love my dad to death. That guy might have beat my dad on that day. I will not lie. And my dad
beat me the other day. I tell you that.
Well, I'm just so just amazed that he finds the club face and man, you swing your swing. That guy is swinging his swing, and he looks like he's having a blast out on the golf course. He probably doesn't deal with all these issues that we talked about earlier in the show, dude. This guy just goes out there and just games it. He just does what he does, and maybe he doesn't suck at golf as much as I think he sucks at golf.
I think you should try to track him down and do a swing makeover.
Should I?
I mean, look, dude, like Hank Haney did it with or was it Hank
Charles Barkley?
Yeah, with Charles and well, he didn't do it great with Charles, but there was other people like Michael Phelps. I don't know if you remember that, but he did it with Michael Phelps. If you convert this guy a little bit to kind of a move, you could put your name in the books.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. He kind of looks like the kind of guy who's a bit off the grid. If I were to, he's probably hard to find. He lives
in a teepee. He lives in Colorado. I guarantee you. And he makes his own liquor. He's moonshining in a teepee, and he also loves golf. 100%.
I love it. That's all you need in life right there is a little moonshine, a little golf, baby. He knows what's going on.
This is good stuff, Blake. 5 reasons why you suck. Yeah, I can relate to some of these for sure.
Well, I hope the people out there, you consume what we've given today. You take a deep little bit of synthesis and you figure out, do I fall in a category or two? And if so, it's okay. How can I get myself out of that category? You will become a better golfer at the end of the day after listening to this podcast. If you can figure out a way to get yourself out of one of those 5 categories. The loft one might be tough, but the other 4 are very, very doable. Very doable.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Blake. 1 groove low in the books. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be sure and like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out Blake's Instagram, Progress Over Perfection. If you haven't seen him in the Discord, check that out too. And listen, it's the winter. Don't let the cobwebs get too crazy on the golf swing. Do what Davis Love does. At least stand in front of the mirror, do something, dry hump your own golf swing a little bit, and get better. You know what I mean? Get better, but also be realistic. Okay, you're a mortgage loan officer, so expectation gap narrowed. All right, all right. Good stuff. Thanks, everybody. See you.